Hey, my name is Jesus Castello for RubyGuides.com, and in this video you're going to learn about Rails. Specifically, you're going to learn about the DB folder in Rails, what's inside, and why is it useful. So let's learn together about Ruby on Rails, and let's have some fun. Let's do this. By the way, before we get started, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, so you can get more videos like this. And also visit my website, rubyguides.com. rubyguides.com. So let's get to the topic of this video, which is Rails folders. So with ls, I can list all of the folders and files inside a standard Rails application, right? And we get folders like app, config, db, lib, log. So what are all of these folders? Well, you don't need to know all of them, but a very important folder, and the folder that we're going to focus on this video, is the DB folder. The DB folder. What does DB mean? Well, it doesn't mean Dragon Ball. We won't find how to become a Super Saiyan inside this folder. But what you will find is very important files, because DB means database. DB means database. So let's take a look inside. In Linux, and I believe also in Mac, there is this tree command. If you don't have this command, you might have to install something extra. So that's something for you to Google for. But give it a try and see if you have it, because it's very useful. With the tree command, we can get a visual of the contents of one folder structured as a tree, and that's exactly why the command is called tree, because we get this tree-like structure for the contents of the folder. So what's inside the database folder? Well, we have a few files, as you can see. This development SQLite free, migrate, which is actually a folder because it has files inside, right? And then also the schema and seeds RB file. So let's take a look at this. And I want to start with the schema file, because this can be very helpful for you. Why? Well, let's take a look. If I open the schema file, we can see that this file, the first comment says this file is auto-generated. So in general, you don't want to change auto-generated files. In fact, changing the file won't do anything that you expect, because this file is mostly for your reference, right? It won't change. In other words, it won't change the database if you change this file. To change the database, you need migrations. So what is this file and why is it useful? Well, this file has the entries for your database schema. The schema is the format of the database. That means the tables, the columns, the types. So in this case, I only have one table, the table users, and we can see that there is a name, a gender, an age, and a country. So now we know that users have these 4 attributes, right? And these 2 are created by Rails. So almost all tables in Rails have this by default. So created at and updated at. So these are timestamps, right? So you can know when this record, when these users were created or changed. So that's the schema file. Remember, it's auto-generated, so it's mostly for your reference. You don't want to change this file. Now we have another file, which is the seeds RB file. This file is helpful if you want to create some seed data for your application, right? And you have examples. So the way this works is you have actual Rails code in here, and you use your models to create some entries in the database. And then you can run this file with rake, I think it's dbseed. I think that's the command. Let's check that out. Yes, that looks like that's the correct command. And that will run this file, basically. So you can add default values. It's not necessary to do this, to have this, to use this file, but it can be helpful, right? So next, let's look at this migrate folder. What's this? Well, I mentioned before when we were looking at the schema file that you don't change the schema file, you create migrations. So migrations is how you describe changes to your database. So migrations are created as Ruby files, and they are go into this migrate folder. So we can take a look at this file if you want. And that's a migration, okay? And we have another video where I go into more details on how to create your own migrations. So right now we only have one, and we can find out this is a very interesting command that a lot of people don't know. So you might want to write it down. The command is db migration or migrate status. There it is. And what this command does is it tells you what migrations are up, meaning that they are applied. We have applied these migrations changes into the database. Okay? So that can be helpful command for you. And how does Rails know this information? Well, let me show you. That's going to tie into the next file. If you're using the SQLite database, you're going to have this file, right? So this is the actual database in one file. And we can look at it using SQLite free command, and then db, remember database, not Dragon Ball, development SQLite free. That gets us inside the file, and we can do tables, and we can see what tables are available. So there is the users table, but there are two internal Rails tables. So if you've never seen this before, now you have. And we can take a look at how these are built using .schema, and we can see that schema migrations only has one column. So if you do select start, select all from schema migrations, we can see that there is this number. And this number, it happens to be this. It's part from the file name, right? So that's how Rails knows if a migration is up, if a migration has been applied or not, because it's inside this table in your database. Okay? And now to exit this SQLite, you can do Control D. Okay? If you are on Mac, it might be Command D, I'm not sure. You can try both. Try Control D and Command D if you are on Mac. If you are on Linux, it's just Control D to exit the SQLite mode. And if you're using another database, then you will have to do something differently, obviously. So that's all of the files in the DB folder. So you can see it's a very important folder because the whole reason that we build the Rails app is to be able to work with data, right? We can create users, we can create whatever we're working with, books, fruit, products, whatever, right? So that's it. That's the DB folder in Rails. I hope you learned something new and interesting. Now, please click the like button for me so I know that you like this video. If you want to learn more, watch more videos in this channel now, visit my website, rubyguides.com, and remember to practice and keep learning your Ruby skills. Thanks a lot for watching. I will see you in the next video.